Welcome everyone to Law and Crime Daily. I'm Brian Buckmeyer. A Florida courtroom once again finds itself hosting a murder trial tied to a rap artist. This time, YNW Melly is the accused. Monday was day one in the double murder trial. Melly, whose given name is Jamell Demons, is accused of killing two men he called his friends. In October of 2018, Melly's best friend, Cortland Henry, showed up at a Miami hospital claiming his friends were caught in a drive-by shooting and were bleeding out in his car. Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas had multiple gunshot wounds and were pronounced dead. Henry told officers they were shot at while leaving a recording studio. But when police got there, they say there was no evidence that a drive-by had occurred. Investigators determined the victims were shot by someone in the car, and surveillance showed four men inside, including Melly. Police arrested Melly and Henry on 2 counts of first-degree murder each. They are being tried separately, have both pled not guilty. During opening statements, the prosecution pointed out Melly's popularity on social media may actually be his undoing.
In the Instagram, because the defendant had a moderate social media following at the time of these events, people are reaching out to him. Some fans, some friends, some associates. You'll see on October 26th, after about 8 a.m. in the morning, Eastern time, multiple messages are coming in. Messages are coming in from individuals checking to see if he's okay, if he's been injured in this drive-by. If it's true that Anthony Williams, who's also sometimes referred to as Sack, and Chris Thomas, who is referred to as Juvie, are really dead. One individual, and specifically, sends out, and I want to quote the message exactly that you will hear, and says, right after this, "Yo, homie, you good? Let me know something." And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is where context matters. What does that mean? If you work at Google and you say, "My whole floor is coding," that's a good thing. If you work at Broward General Hospital and you say, "My whole floor is coding," that is a bad thing. The context around the messages matters. So in the context of this message, this individual is reaching out, asking if Mr. Demons is good, after he's been tagged in multiple social media posts about this drive-through, this shooting. And Mr. Demons responds very succinctly, "I did that." Shh. Ladies and gentlemen, at the conclusion of the evidence, the state is confident that you will find the defendant guilty as charged of the first-degree murder of Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams.
All right, I want to bring in my co-host, former trial attorney Terry Austin, and our special guest, former homicide prosecutor Bernarda Villalona. Bernarda, sometimes it's not the crime, but the cover-up that gets the defendant in hot water. How damaging is the defense that this investigation occurred and they tried to make it look like a drive-by shooting, but it actually wasn't?
So for the prosecution, this is one of the strongest pieces of evidence that they're using. So in a prosecution where you're talking about someone giving up a false information or a false lie or a false narrative, and you can prove that, that is an argument for the prosecution to say, wait, the reason that they're lying, the reason that they came up with that lie is because they're trying to cover up the truth. And that truth is that the person actually committed the crime. So the cover up sometimes is worse than the crime itself.
Yeah, Terry, what do you think will be the most important, or for lack of a better term, the smoking gun in this case?
Well, there's no doubt forensics is the issue here. We need to know whether or not those bullets came from outside the car into the car, or they came from inside the car. So they're going to, both sides, I think, need to have forensic evidence. Now, clearly the defense does not have to do that. But if they do it, I think that's what the issue will be, and I think that's what the jury is going to focus on. So I also definitely think that you're going to have to see what those hands were like, whether or not there was gun residue and whose hand had the gun residue. If there's gun residue, then you know that some of those defendants might have actually pulled the trigger. So I think it's going to be forensics, forensics, forensics.
Yeah, I'm curious to see whether or not the defense goes with this whole drive-by theory or abandons it for something else. Well, we'll see as the case continues. Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, our coverage of YNW Melly's murder trial continues.
They have no reason for why he would do this, because there is no reason.
We're breaking down the defense's opening statement next. Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. YNW Melly, a young Florida rapper whose given name is Jamell Demons, is on trial for allegedly shooting two men inside a car where they bled out. Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams were good friends with Melly and another man, Cortland Henry. They're believed to have all been in the same car in 2018 when Thomas and Williams were shot. Prosecutors say Melly and Henry tried to make it seem like a drive-by shooting. During his opening statement, Melly's defense attorneys say it makes no sense for him to kill his friends.
Prosecutors are given great power, endless resources to perform their mission of pursuing justice. But that's not what occurred here. What they will bring you is a case that is riddled with reasonable doubt, that is founded on an incompetent and incomplete investigation, and the exercise of poor judgment at every turn. The state cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt the allegations that they have made. And there is a reason for that. You recall Ms. Bradley, some of you may recall, during jury selection, going to great lengths to let you know that she does not have to prove motive. And she's right about that. The law doesn't require her to prove motive. But you know what does require motive? A young man to wake up one day and decide that he's going to kill two of his best friends. Best friends that he grew up with, best friends that he hangs out with, best friends who he lives with, best friends whose careers he was trying to launch alongside his own. They have no reason for why he would do this, because there is no reason. And if there's no reason, it doesn't make sense. And if after 4 years of investigation, the state comes and says, hey, he killed two of his friends, his best friends, and you're wondering why, and their answer is, oh, I don't know.
Terry, you thought this was a good defense opening. I mean, I dare even say great, but what makes it so good in your eyes?
Well, I think we all think it was pretty strong. First of all, he talks about that motive, and no, the prosecution doesn't have to prove motive, but it doesn't make sense. Why would you kill your two best friends? The other issue is he said it was a shoddy investigation. In fact, he said it was fabricated, not investigated. And he didn't just make that claim. He actually went into detail. He said that the Broward County office had to actually restart the entire investigation, saying that the Miramar police didn't do their job. That's a big statement to make. He's going to have to back that up. But he also said that they didn't follow up on leads for years. There were people who were talking about intimate details. They didn't follow that up. They didn't get a search warrant to search the house that Henry went into. There were so many things that they failed to do, and it was really very specific. And I think that that is going to be something that's going to convince that jury that he's not just making, false claims. He's not just drawing a wide brush. He's actually backing up with specifics.
Yeah, Bernarda, to Terry's point, the defense attacked the quote-unquote botched investigation, and I want to say they almost reframed the jury's role in this case and what the standard of proof is. What did you make of that strategy?
I think the defense did a great job, especially in framing the role itself of the jury. And you have to think, when it comes to the defense, they're telling this jury, like, look, it's not for me to prove that my client is innocent. It's not for me to prove to you other things. It's for you to determine, based on the prosecution evidence, whether they prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Your job is to find reasonable doubt. I loved his opening statement because he didn't commit to a theory. Instead, he attacked the case of the prosecution and told them what their job is. You prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt. I don't have to say anything.
Yeah, they say sometimes a great defense is an even better offense, and I think that's what this opening statement really looked like. He really put it in the prosecutor's court, so to speak, to fight this case.